Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Hey, hello, hi, how are you? How you doing? Please subscribe to I Feel Fat Today on YouTube over at ifeelfattoday.com. No, that's not right. Subscribe to I Feel Fat Today on YouTube where we have full video podcasts. Sorry. The Sauvignon Blanc's getting to my head. So please subscribe to us on YouTube. Then head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. And you can also follow us on Spotify. Doing that gets the word out about the podcast, and it would mean a lot to me. You can also email us at ifeelfattoday@gmail.com if you want to just send me a note or reach out looking for some advice. I really appreciate it. And of course, follow the podcast on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today, and me, your host, Kelly Taylor, at Hello, This is Kelly. That'd be great. Now, last week I had put out a little, I just asked the listener, I said, hey, if you listen, let me know, send me a message. And someone did, and I can't tell you how full that made me feel. So please, do that. If you listen to the podcast and you're just a random person out there that I don't know, send me a message. Let me know that you listen. That kind of stuff really fills my cup, and it lets me know that you guys are out there and you're listening, and I really appreciate all of you. This episode we have coming up is a great one, and I'm excited for you to listen. I am currently recording this intro in a hotel room in Tampa. Put that on my gravestone, a hotel room in Tampa. Am I here doing stand-up comedy? No, I am not. I am not here doing stand-up. I am on a short sabbatical, if you will, meaning a week and a half, because I got into Tampa on Thursday last week for my cousin's wedding, in which I was maid of honor. And did I ruin the wedding by looking horrible in my bridesmaid's dress? No, I did not. Was that a fear of mine? Yes, it very much was. But no, it was fine. I looked fine. Not as good as the bride, of course. She looked amazing. So that was good. I did that. So Thursday to Sunday essentially was like family. And then Sunday to Monday, I had some chill time with my honey Joe, here in Tampa, which was nice. But, he was experiencing some anxiety from being away from home. And, it's so funny when you're with somebody that's experiencing anxiety and you yourself do not have anxiety in that moment. You can't really imagine why they feel that way, but luckily I am somebody that has experienced anxiety for no reason. So I was kind of working with him to help identify, just asking some questions like, are you worried about the dog? Are you feeling anxious because you haven't gotten up on stage? And it's a weird experience being the person that isn't experiencing the anxiety, and trying to comfort the person that is, knowing full well that there's nothing you can do. There's nothing to make them feel better. But he eventually did. But, we dealt with that a little bit. And then he flew out Tuesday morning, and here I am Tuesday night recording this intro as I get the podcast all edited and uploaded for Friday, because starting Thursday, I'm going right into my best friend's bachelorette, who I am also the maid of honor for that wedding coming up in a few months. So it's been a jam-packed week for me. As I sit here and record this, you're getting an episode this week. I totally forgot that last week. I said, you may not get an episode. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to be traveling. I might just take the holiday weekend. I decided, no, I'm going to put one out, because of course I am. I had this interview in the chamber. I have a bunch of interviews lined up for when I return to New York City after Memorial Day. And so I thought, I can't not put out an episode. I'd feel too much like a lazy piece of shit that isn't doing anything with her life, especially because I haven't done any stand-up this week. So I'm putting it out, and I'm glad I am. I'm sure I will learn to regret that in a few weeks when I don't have anything and I need to put out an episode. But alas, enjoy. Yes, so currently I am alone in Tampa, and I gotta say, if you're somebody that is afraid of doing things alone, please don't be afraid. It is amazing. I love traveling alone. It's great traveling with Joe, my boyfriend. It's amazing. You know, it's always fun having a buddy because there are certain anxieties that you experience when you're alone that you simply don't experience when you are traveling with someone, because you don't feel the hesitation to go out and do something when you have a buddy. You know, like going out to eat at a restaurant can be mildly anxiety inducing, and so you don't have that feeling when you're with somebody. But on the other hand, and I think the thing that makes traveling alone so awesome is you have the ability to decide to do whatever you want whenever you want. If you want to sleep half the day away, you can do it. You're not pissing anybody off. If you want to go sit by the pool for the day or for 30 minutes, you have the ability to do that without pissing anybody off. And it's just nice to be alone with your thoughts, or with a book, or in my case, an audiobook. And maybe I'm lucky in that I do have the ability and the desire to spend time alone and go out to eat alone. And truly, I feel as if the only thing that could make my solo time on this trip better is if Finney was here. That's truly the only thing that can make it better, because I love having my little companion with me. But this alone time has been really good. I've been able to do a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and a lot of nothing at all, which has been really, really fantastic. Oh, wow, this intro is getting long. Okay, let me try to wrap this up. As I sit here in my hotel room, I don't have water. I don't have running water in the entire Barrymore Hotel in Tampa on the Riverwalk, which has been frustrating because I did have a stomach attack, and when you don't have running water, the toilets do not work. So at least I didn't shit myself. When I had a stomach attack and I realized that I wasn't able to flush the toilet, I at least thought, you know what? I could have done this in the hallway, which would have been way, 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 way worse. So I just called down to the front desk and said, hey, it's 9:30 at night. You said the water would be back on by 5. That evidently has not happened. And they said, yeah, sorry, they're still working on it. You beat. So I went down to the front desk to grab some water because they have free water for all the guests, considering how we don't have running water. So I just have like 10 bottles of water in my room. And I went down there and I went over to a little snack area where you can like purchase some snacks, and I picked a thing of popcorn, and I went over and asked for water and kind of like mimed reaching for my wallet to pay for the popcorn, and the girl just looked at me and was like, nah, just take the popcorn. So hey, I may have a non-working toilet that has been desecrated, but I did get free popcorn. So I'm gonna choose that as a win. Should I re-record this? I'm not going to. We're gonna go ahead and post this. This is my truth. Okay. My guest this week, we had an awesome conversation. I didn't realize how much my guest and I are alike. We're from the same area of New Jersey. We both were Belmar queens back in the day. We both were in sororities in college. She's very lovely. We have a great conversation. We tread on a territory I don't usually like to go to, but that's her truth. So we spoke about it. And I really loved it. And she actually mentioned a book in our interview that I have downloaded on Spotify. Because if you pay for Spotify, they have audiobooks. And it's called I think Women, Food, and God is the name of it. We talk about it in the episode, and I started listening to it. I'm halfway through the first chapter, and I've already started crying. It is a really, really good book. So once I finish listening to that, I'll report back and tell you all how I feel about it. But I'm half a chapter in, and I already recommend it. Women, Food, and God. But without further ado, please welcome my guest for this week, the very funny stand-up comedian, Amanda Gail. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yes. We connected at a friend's birthday, and we were chatting, and I was like, wait, save it for the pod.
This could be a podcast.
It really could. But let's monetize every conversation.
Yes, please.
So something that I make fun of myself a little bit for is the fact that I was in a sorority in college. But one of the things that I love about it is it connects me to people. Yep. So not only do we have the common thread of comedy, we also have the common thread of having been in a sorority, not the same one, but we're from like the same area in New Jersey. So it was just great. It's great. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there is a connection of the sorority girl experience, the Central Jersey sorority girl experience. You're from Sayreville, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, I don't know. I might have been
Starland,
Hunka-Bunka. I got tea nights. Like, oh my God. Like, many a happy occasions at the Hunka-Bunka tea nights. And my parents have been to every Portuguese restaurant in Sayreville, probably. So
yeah, I live behind the Costa Verde. I should probably not say that.
Oh yeah. Don't stalk her.
Yeah,
anyway.
but all 10 of my listeners who I love. Yeah. Did you go down to Belmar?
That is another part of the New Jersey like pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I was the typical New Jersey girl pipeline. Like, went to East Brunswick High School, then I went to Rutgers. I did a sorority. I did SDT. Then I graduated and went to Hoboken, and then my summers were spent down in Belmar. Avenue C, I think, or right by DJ. So yeah, I did.
Okay.
I remember like Tuesdays was Beat the Clock at. I probably saw you there. Tuesday.
Bar A. 1000%.
Yes.
Our paths have crossed. My house was on 16th and what was it? It was like literally right. It was like
right by
Bar A.
Okay, Bar A. Yeah.
Yeah, because Bar A was over here, and then DJ's was by the beach.
Oh my God! The thing about DJs is people like, how like people are like, oh, I'm not like one of those like. People are like, oh, I go to DJs, but like just for happy hour.
Oh yeah,
I'm not one of those like Saturday night DJ people, because I remember happy hour was like these huge drinks,
unreal,
and it was like a lot of alcohol. And I don't care who you are, the DJ at DJs was insane. It was so good,
amazing,
the best dance party. So.
It was amazing. Did you ever do PK's Sunday brunch?
My friends did. I usually left on Sundays, but I know that is. Yeah,
that was
Oh no!
Of course, the moment we record, what is that?
Let me close this window. All right, well, edit that out, I guess.
It's there's literally a white Porsche with their alarm out directly under the apartment. I'll fix it in post.
Okay, good.
PK's was not something I could do every Sunday. But it was an experience.
Yes.
Like, I had to like reserve the day because you would go and like I remember the first time we went, we thought we were sitting down to brunch, and then all of a sudden beer was being thrown all over the place. It was so insane.
Napkin throwing. And then what I remember also is there was I don't know if DJ still does this, but every Thursday is a theme night.
Yes.
So I didn't usually go to all of them, but I always went to Christmas in July.
Always.
That was the best because you'd dress as like Slutty Santa and like.
Yeah. It was even fun going like, I remember one time my girlfriends and I went in March for St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, yeah. That must have been a blast.
Yeah, it was so fun. I loved the theme nights. Their bingo on Sunday was so fun. My girlfriends and I talk about all the time. We're like, we could go for like happy hour.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not like a Saturday night DJ's girl.
Not anymore. But
you went on Saturdays?
You
did. Okay.
Okay, so I was more.
So you're trashier than me. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, I am fully like. I favored more Bar A just in general because like you could talk to people and like Bar A was just so fun. They had the shot wheel.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so fun. So many memories.
I know.
But yeah, the 4th of July at DJ's was always so amazing, and so you would get the stamp to go in. You'd like wait in line a little bit earlier, and then you would get the stamp, and then you didn't have to pay the cover to get in later. And
so you go to happy hour, get the stamp, come back for Saturday. Yes.
Yep. But you had to be careful because if it washed off, you're beat, you know?
That's right.
So a few people would go, like some of the guys or whatever, they'd get the stamp because it would change.
Yeah.
And then they'd come and I would take eyeliner and I would put it on everyone's hand so that we could get in.
What a good friend.
A little calligraphy.
And do you remember, oh my God, you can't talk about DJs without the infamous wet t-shirt. It's not a wet t-shirt contest. It's a t-shirt contest.
T-shirt contest.
We all danced for this old man.
Yes.
And he goes, you got to be smiling. You got to be dancing. You got to be shaking that ass. And then all these girls would be in the, dancing for this guy. But we all did it. And then you got, picked on the stage.
Or at Bar A, Einstein.
I don't know.
The guy. Okay, so Einstein was just this creep in Belmar that would go to Bar A, and he literally looked like Einstein. He had like this big fro. I'll pull the photo and I'll insert it right here, and I'll pull a photo and show it to you. It might jog your memory. But yeah, oh my gosh, so many good memories. So yeah, we have some things in common.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So something we were talking about is when we were hanging out a few Saturdays ago was just like being in college and just being like obsessed, like having a formal coming up and like all of a sudden it's like, okay, cabbage soup diet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or drunkorexia.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us were that. We didn't eat all day and then we'd go out drinking. And we thought that was a great idea. And then we'd go home and then we go to get pizza or something.
Yeah.
This is working, it's like whatever. So
no, totally. I actually came across this TikTok earlier today where this kid it's like probably like 24, and it's like POV, you got really drunk and now you have to apologize to your friends, and he's like laying in bed like, hey bestie, sorry I didn't text you back, I needed 48 hours and a full REM sleep. I don't know what happened. I shouldn't have bought everyone shots. I'll totally Venmo you for the Uber because I puked in it, blah, blah, blah. And I was just thinking about how, like, we didn't have Ubers back then, which is, like, so silly to say, like, that we, whatever. But just, like, the texts you'd have to send the next day to be like, hey, girls, everyone good?
Does everyone hate me? Like,
oh, my God, the worst.
Or I go through pictures. I'm like, oh, my God, I probably said something crazy.
Yeah.
You didn't, like, well, I used to do this thing in college, and I thought it was so smart, and God bless whoever was watching over me during these days. But I used to think like, okay, a Long Island iced tea is $5. And you can get so messed up on I don't even know if anyone drinks Long Island iced teas anymore. I think it's like,
I don't think, yeah.
I'm showing my age. And then I was like, okay, it's $5. Great. I'll get so drunk. But then you're like buzzed. You're like, I could have another one.
Oh yeah, drunk you.
And I was
totally.
Like, yeah. And then I'm blacked out. And it's like, what is actually wrong with you, girl?
Yeah.
Like, you could be you could be the star of a true crime. Like, I think about those days.
Oh my God.
What is wrong with you?
So do I. But just like, I mean, never mind the fact that we were in college for the Four Loko days.
Yeah.
The Four Loko days, that reigned my freshman year.
Yeah,
it was the very end of my freshman year when Four Loko was like, we have to change the recipe. Yeah. Everyone's having too much fun.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you wouldn't eat all day. You wouldn't eat all day. And then you would have this sugary, I don't even know. It would be like drinking a Celsius, like with malt liquor.
Oh, okay.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
But and then you would just go bounce off the walls. I like there's something to blissful ignorance because
you're right.
I used to be so underage and so publicly drunk.
Yeah.
And just like not realizing that was a crime. And that like you can get a ticket, you can, campus could kick you off, like so much. I just like didn't think would be something that like would cause me to get in trouble. Yeah. And so I just never got in trouble.
You just think you're
invincible.
And like I even like forget like tickets and stuff.
I think like
about
life and death.
Safety.
Yeah.
The memories I've had of things I did, and I'm like, what is actually wrong with you? Just like people I talk like. I'm blanking on the. I just remember waking up.
Natalie Holloway.
That could have been me.
Yeah, no, it could have been all of us.
She literally just met a guy that she thought was cute and took shots, and then I think he advanced and she said no.
Yeah. No, a very typical night.
An 18-year-old, like an 18-year-old would just be like, oh, this guy seems fine.
Yeah.
Like, and he was also whatever. So, and also like just I think about times I just woke up and I was like, what happened last night?
Yeah.
And it's like, what if your friends weren't there? What if you
I
went
know.
home? Like, what is wrong with you?
I know. I like do think that there was like something ethereal upper beyond us watching me, like truly. And my friends were doing it too. It was the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, we were just all messes. I remember just like losing my phone, my
God,
my digital camera, my like, just like, and you're just like, oh, I'll just like get it. You just have no concept of consequences. You're like, I'll figure it out. Like,
and we still did good in school. It was such a weird thing.
Yeah, I feel like we were the era of like, they can't be bad kids. They have A's.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It was like, they can do, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of parents in our generation were like, oh, they're getting A's. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're drinking and smoking, but like, they're doing well in school. Like,
I had more stricter parents, so I became a very good liar.
Oh, okay, good. You wore like the multiple outfits and like changed.
Yeah, and like, so in high school, I always had a party girl in me, always. And I didn't really party in high school. I would like go to like hangouts and stuff, and I wouldn't touch alcohol because I just knew that my parents would fucking kill me, and I just like didn't want to deal with the fallout.
Yeah.
But I go to college and I'm living on campus.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, let's let the eating disorder run wild.
Yeah.
Let's let the drinking run wild. You know, you just go fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And honestly, what we're describing sounds very destructive. And did I act did I have some crazy behaviors? Yes. I really think that I needed all of that.
Yeah.
Truly.
To get out. Just like freedom. That
freedom.
Didn't have to answer anybody.
Yep.
And then, because now I don't feel the need to get blacked out drunk ever.
I know.
Sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah. And just like a hangover, like I probably once a quarter have like a pretty, maybe not once a quarter, but like have a pretty decent hangover that makes me be like, why did I do that? You know?
Did you have fun? Like, yeah. I mean, I don't mind like drinking with friends and like laughing, but like getting like blacked out and like being like wild and dancing on the bar, I'm just like, oh, that sounds.
Anxiety prevents me from like doing that.
Do you have anxiety?
Oh my God, the worst.
Really? You'd think from like being in the sorority and everything that you'd have like.
I know.
You know, like you know how to like socialize and.
You know, totally. Well, just thinking like, did I overshare? You know, I have a real energy where like people will just tell me their shit, which it's like, that's never too much for me. I love it. But then like that can unlock a little bit in me to be like, oh, well, this happened to me too, and it's just like, well, I didn't need, Sandra to know that about me. You know?
And you don't know how people, I'm not trying to like trigger anxiety. It's like, no. Not that I feel like I have a very, I can have we talk about astrology. I have an Aries stellium. So my Mercury, Mars, and Venus are in Aries. So the way I speak is can be very intense. It can be very passionate. That can be a lot for people. But I always get nervous that people will use it against you.
Yes.
Like, and somehow, and like,
but
not that they're going to hate you, but like they're going to like,
like especially with us being in the line of entertainment, you never know. I mean, when I was very young doing that in my, 20s, like I didn't start stand up till I was 25. So
that's a great age though. That's
perfect age. I really do think it is
the perfect age.
Yeah. And because I also like don't know what I would have talked about before.
I know.
You know?
Do you know like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock started at 16?
I know.
Would your mother let you go to an open mic?
No, my mom would be like, you're going to a bar? No.
Would your mom be like, all right, I'll drive you? Like, I don't know. The mic's supposed to have been like New Brunswick or like.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Like, I remember, because I love going to concerts. I was like an emo kid.
Okay.
And so like Starland Ballroom, Hunka
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. It was like right there. And so my mom went to one concert with me. It was the first, I remember, I'll never forget. I saw Paramore. They just released the Riot album. It was like 2006. And I was like, Mom, I really want to go see this band at Starland. She's like, okay, I'll go with you. And then she came with me and was like, all right, I get a sense of what this is. You can go to these with your friends now, you know? Yeah. So I don't see her taking me to an open mic and being like, I'm going to leave you alone here. You know what I mean?
Those men, they would have eaten you. They would have just been like, they would have followed you to the bathroom.
Yeah. They do that now. You know, it's like
those horny comedians with 16-year-old around.
No. Absolutely. And the bars that these open mics are happening at would totally have a 16-year-old there doing comedy, like without a question. So
maybe they went to like the comedy clubs. And I actually don't know what comedies they started with, but like
right.
I didn't even know anything about. Like,
no, I knew nothing, and I had to have. For me, getting into stand-up, I was living in New York. I was new to the city, and I just went through like the only way to describe it really is a depression.
Oh,
and in that depression, I would go to work, I would come home, like all day just be on autopilot, and I would lay in bed and I just would watch comedy specials. And I would watch all these different specials from comedians that I don't even find funny now, but at the time,
I know.
Your like I was like
different.
so weird. Yeah, so and then I would lay there and I just would think like, oh man, I want to do that. But I didn't understand that this is like a performed act. Like, because when you don't know stand up, you just think like, oh my God, that person is just like so funny. Like they just come up with that.
Right.
And once I realized that wasn't the case, that like you write jokes, I just had like
so there's work involved.
Yeah. I just had an iPhone note of 2 years worth of jokes. Oh. Anything I thought was funny, I'd put in the iPhone note. And then one day I just was like, all right, I'm going to do an open mic.
Good
and then
for
it just never, it went on from there. So I was 25 when I did that. And it's so funny. I had a show on Sunday. It was a really light show because it was Mother's Day. And there was a family in the crowd. They were like pretty much the crowd. It was like mom, dad, and a son, daughter. And the daughter was 20 years old. And she's talking to the comedians because younger girls are just, at that age, I wouldn't be sitting there like chatting it up with the comedians, but she was. And she said something like, someone had a joke about something, and she's like, well, your brain's not fully formed till you're 25.
Oh my God.
And I was hosting. I got on the stage and I was like, you're 20 years old and you just said that? I was 27 when I learned that the brain's not fully formed till after 25.
They have access to so much information.
It's
they know
crazy.
everything. They have just access to more information than
we
did.
Yeah. And we had Tumblr and Yahoo Answers.
I don't even know if I would know where to. Like, I was an actress. Like I liked doing the school, like the theater. I was like a theater kid. So like, I did cheerleading too. I wasn't like
multifaceted.
So I was a theater kid, so I was really into doing like the play, like the town plays.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Or like,
like Playhouse 22, Playhouse 22 in East Brunswick. Like
yes.
there and these. So I never was like where the open. I don't know.
No.
It wasn't like that. We didn't have like social media back then. Like,
right.
I think with the rise of TikTok having stand-up comedians, it might be more in the zeitgeist of younger people to.
Totally, because even just in 2016, when I was going through that depression, I got stand-up by going to Netflix. I couldn't just scroll on my phone and see stand-up. It would very, very seldom would that come across your page, and now it's the only thing.
Literally, I used to watch the Comedy Central half-hour special. I used to love Comedy Central. I used to watch.
Oh my God, my favorite channel growing up. That and Fuse.
Fuse,
yeah, because Fuse was like the emo alternative music.
Okay,
so it was that. Comedy Central, Mad TV was my favorite.
Yeah.
I grew up with my mom watching SNL.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, our parents loved SNL.
They loved it, and it was. I'm going to say this. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. Am I like keeping us from the agenda?
No. This is literally just. This is why. Yeah, no, you're fine.
I'm trying to be like respectful of whatever.
No.
Okay, but Lauren Michaels has this quote. He says, "Tell me who you think the best SNL cast is, and I will tell you when you were in middle school."
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think that's BS.
Really?
Because I think the late '90s, early 2000s was the. Oh, actually, okay. I was a little younger then, but I was younger than middle school. But I think that was. I mean, Mike Myers, Sherry O'Terry, Will Ferrell.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
we were younger. Yeah.
What was it? Who's Wayne's World? Garth and what's his name? Dana Carvey. Oh my God, Will Ferrell could walk into a room and I'd start laughing.
Yeah.
And Sherry O'Terry. I don't really love Anna Gasteyer, but she was there. But the late '90s, early 2000s was the best cast ever. Like,
Yep.
But then you talk to your mom and they go, no. You know, the Dan Aykroyd and
right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess that's what's cool about comedy. It's something that, multi-generational. Speaking of something that's multi-generational, eating disorders. So, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister.
You have an older sister. Okay. How much older is she?
5.5. Yeah.
5.5. Okay, so she's older.
She's older. Yeah.
Enough to be bossy older.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a younger brother that's 6 years younger than me, and I'm like annoyingly his mom. Whereas like my older brother is 2 years older than me. And it's like we're buds.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so you're like a mother figure to your...
Totally. So you're the little sister. Okay, so I'm curious. Did you grow up in a house where like dieting was talked about or present? Like, you know, was mom on diets?
So it was like the 2000s. I just feel like every adult was like on a diet.
Yeah.
Like, but you joked about it. It wasn't like
it wasn't
like like I hear stories of women growing up with mothers that like are constantly talking about their weight. My mother wasn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't think my mother was ever on a diet. It was my dad that would go on diets.
Oh.
Like my dad did Weight Watchers. My mom always cooked healthy food growing up, and my mom always bought low calorie food. And she always bought diet soda. I like love diet soda. We always ate very like not fattening food. We didn't grow up. Some people, yeah. So. But when my dad would go on a diet or my aunt was on a diet, it was like funny.
Right.
It wasn't this like, oh, I think I'm fat. It was like.
Right. Did your dad struggle with his weight?
He had gained weight when he was, my dad is he's a finish the whole bag chip.
Oh, totally.
He eats fast. He eats big portions. He doesn't eat like we'll go on vacation and we won't have breakfast. We won't have lunch, but we'll have a huge dinner, like a binging, massive.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy because when they eat a lot of food.
There's like a lot of satisfaction in that. It's like not only is this like because there's something that happens when there's a lot at play, especially like when you work a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like food is such a reward.
I know, it's so numbing.
On top of you don't eat all day. And there is something like, I really think if they could bottle and sell the feeling of hunger being satiated. Oh my God. When you go all day.
Yes.
Without eating. Yeah. And then all of a sudden 5 o'clock hits and we're at the restaurant and let's start with the apps. Oh my God. It's just like the dopamine is amazing.
Yep. And you're like, well, I haven't eaten all day.
I haven't eaten all day.
Literally. Yeah. It's fine. There's no calories here.
Yeah.
My dad is he will order multiple rounds of bread.
Yeah. Before,
just like, okay, more bread. And I'm like, Dad, I don't think we need more bread. He's like, and he'll take the dressing and he'll put like, so he has portion control issues more, but yeah, when he would go on a diet and do Weight Watchers, it was like funny. He would like laugh at it. He's like, I lost weight. I don't know. It wasn't this like traumatizing, but
right.
My mom always bought like low calorie stuff. So
yeah. So your mom just always had low, like you said, low cal healthy stuff. In the house. Okay, interesting. So being your basis, did you yourself ever deal with any kind of like disordered eating or thinking? Well, I mean, we talked about the no eating and then going out and drinking.
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah, I for sure had what I know now is an eating disorder.
Oh yeah, it's so funny you don't know it when you're in it.
Yeah, but then I know there's this whole thing of like I don't know because you do the podcast about this. So what's the word of like it's not that you have an eating disorder. They call it like like you have a weird. It's like being weird with food. It's not really anorexia.
Right.
It's like It's like something with an O. Like
Yes. It's not coming to me. I know what you're talking about.
Like I saw it on TikTok that girls were talking about it, and I don't know what's just. I guess my issue is I don't really know what's disordered eating. I will say this: my first diet was when I was 14, and I was very successful. It was like a very successful diet, maybe 13, 14. I would eat 3 meals a day, but I would eat whatever I wanted in those 3 meals, but I never snack. And I'd work out 20 minutes a day. And I lost weight, but I didn't snack. And then around 15 years old, I got really serious about school. Like I insisted on getting A's. I just was like on the streak of like, I was in high school. I'm like, I would get it. And I probably had undiagnosed ADHD and I would come home and binge before studying and working because I couldn't calm down.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was. I had no idea. And then I had this behavior throughout my life of like, I have to sit down and study, or I have to sit down and do work. I had a desk job.
Yeah.
And then I saw a nutritionist or a therapist, and they're like, I don't think you have real hunger. And I was like, she's like, they're looking at what I ate. And I was like, oh, she's like, I feel like you need this to calm down. And I was like, what?
Like a pacifier.
I was like, that was like, psh.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I couldn't put the words into what I was doing, but I thought it was hunger, but I guess if I thought about it, it wasn't hunger.
Right.
It was anxiety. It was
totally.
I need to calm down and buckle down, and I couldn't. And she's like, I think you should. She's like, you might have a little bit of ADHD. And I was like, yes.
Isn't
Give me that.
Give me that
Adderall.
speed.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And that's when I went to a psychiatrist the first time, and then I went on Adderall. Then I went off of Adderall, but
yeah, totally. Oh, that's so interesting. I mean, it's so crazy what having the language for something can do for you.
Literally. Yep.
Isn't that nuts?
Yes. Yep.
Even just like in the conversation we've been having, like identifying things, like the younger generation having the ability to say what it is that they're feeling or find out what it is that you're feeling. Whereas for us, and I think why, the older generation can sometimes, I'm willing to give a little bit of slack to, is because they did not have the ability to identify how they were feeling. Like, think back to even the early 90s. They didn't know what postpartum depression was.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yep. And and even like the word, like I mean, being in a sorority, you probably could have used this word, like having toxic friends.
Oh my God. The notion of that. We had no idea.
I didn't know the word for it. I just was like, I guess I just thought like your friends are, I had this thing of like, okay, your friends are your friends. You have to stay loyal to your friends no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the language. But then I had these friends that were like awful.
Like,
but I was like, oh, some people are just getting into bad moods, and like that's, it's like we're all human. And looking back at behaviors, like I see these memes, I'm like, no, I had no reason to not be these people's friends.
Right.
But if I knew the word toxic, I would have been like, I probably would have by the way, I probably would have overused that. Like,
totally.
Probably I didn't know. I probably would have no friends because I'd be like, toxic. You're not doing what I want. Toxic.
It would have been used as like as a weapon.
As a weaponized thing. You can weaponize these words, or like if someone doesn't. I bet I'd be the girl like you're not agree with me. You're gaslighting me. Like I probably would have overused that, but like. Some girls that you were friends with and some guys, I was like, that's a thing. Yes, where you're like, you did this. You're like, I didn't do that. You're like,
yeah, like what?
And you're like, and I would have maybe I wouldn't have said that in the moment, but I would have like been like, oh, this is what this person is. She's like I would have been able to diagnose her.
Right. You would have been the sorority therapist.
Literally, I'd be like, well, I bet you in sororities now they just like think they're all like,
Oh yeah, totally.
They probably like use that word, and they're probably like all here's the kicker. They're all narcissists.
Yes,
we all are.
And this is maybe a little controversial, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but once I really started learning about what a cult is and how really anything can be a cult, and like here are the signs of a cult, I was a little culty about my sorority.
Yeah.
I talked about this with Sid King because she had the experience of growing up in religion and being super into Catholicism.
God, yeah.
And then getting into a sorority and being like super into the sorority. Right. And we talked about how like in both of those things, whether it was with Catholicism or with the sorority, for me, especially the sorority, just this idea of like, I am better than you because I am wearing a shirt that you don't have the ability to wear. And like, I do think that there is good to have pride in something that you're affiliated with, but I really thought I was so much better and I othered people much easily. But again, I didn't know that that's what I was doing.
But can I ask you, because I've been thinking about this with things that are happening. What's the difference between having pride and like thinking you're better?
Good question. What's the difference between pride and thinking? Pride is wanting to tell people about it. Pride is wanting to, just better yourself within the thing that you're proud of.
Okay.
The upkeep of it all, I think thinking you're better is like needing to be first place, like disregarding other people because you think you're better.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that.
Maybe.
Okay. No. I like this because I'm thinking about this with religion, and I don't want to go into what's going on today, or if I go into that territory, please just stop me, because there's a lot of conversations about two different groups of people thinking they're better, or like there's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and like people will take, like, I'm Jewish, and I'll see things on the internet about Judaism, and people say, see, there's Jews think they're better, and I'm like, it's not us thinking, like, we say those things because, okay, I'm gonna say this, like, let's go, you say you go to church, and they're like, yeah, we're Christians, but those Jews, they're actually the right. Like, not that, no, by the way, no one ever shit. I never heard anyone shit on other religions. So that's not, now, no. But if we say, like, oh, we should be proud. We should be proud Jews. We should, I know people, we're God's chosen people. I know I heard that, but it wasn't.
I love
we
that.
do say that, but I never felt it was in the context of, and those Christians suck.
Right.
I never, ever felt like that's what they were saying, but I can see how someone on the outside would go, oh, Jews think they're better. But it's like, no, we were building pride in our group, our press group.
I think the notion of Jews think they're better is just rooted in anti-Semitism.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say.
No, I think that's what that is. It's like saying that Jews think they're better. The reason why they're saying that is because, well, frankly, you guys are really good at being professionals and persevering,
mental Olympics. We're very good at the mental Olympics.
Yes. And like,
physical Olympics. Yeah, we've stomach
there's
issues.
probably some.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But
I think that's just rooted in anti-Semitism. There's really nothing more you can say about that.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I hear things about Zionism that, I'm not saying anything about either side. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I grew up hearing about the word Zionism as we need a place that won't kick us out. That's it.
Right.
That's
always what I understood Zionism to be growing up.
And with everything going on, and people probably will hate me, but I never I want to scream this from the rooftop about, because what's going on in Gaza, by the way, is awful. Right. Absolutely. I hate what's going on in Gaza. But when I hear people talk about Zionism and saying, well, it's racism, it's Jewish supremacy, I go, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about what it is to be a Zionist, because I've literally, honestly, the first Jewish person I've met was my friend Judy. Okay. I'm going on her bachelorette party this
sounds Jewish
weekend, actually.
Judy,
yeah. You would actually love Judy.
Oh, I can't. Yeah. And so, but like growing up, when we said Zionism, I never heard one person say, and we want to kick those other people out.
Right.
Or it was literally, we need a place that won't kick us out.
Right.
That's it. We're not trying to kick anyone. And I can go into the history, and I don't want to do that to your listeners, because I'm sure that they have,
I've never gone into it on the podcast.
So I guess what I want to say is that we do the things that people hear about Zionism or the Jews. It's like, I think it seemed to me growing up that, we want to make you proud to be Jewish because you're not the majority. All the kids on your block have Christmas trees and you don't.
Right. You feel like an other.
You feel like an other. Like, let's be so proud of our history. That's how I felt. Like, you should be so proud of your history. You should be so proud of where we came from. I never in my life heard a rabbi, a Jewish leader, a parent shit on Islam or Christianity in my life. So I was like, are we supremacists? Anyway. But
I think, because I grew up in a Fox News household, I think that conservative politics is what skewed that.
Okay, got it.
That's what I like, based on what you're describing and just what I've known, because to be honest, I've had to do so much. I used to be, oh God, it's so crazy. I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be loved by my family if I didn't think like them. Yeah. I thought abortion was wrong.
Sure. Well, that's normal.
I just had conservative ideals, because I'm trying to write this joke about it where I would fall asleep at night listening to Rush Limbaugh, because that's just what was always on, And I wasn't falling asleep listening to it, but I was listening to my grandpa drive around in his Lincoln, with
liberals,
the blaring. Yeah. Exactly. And so I think conservatism co-opted that, and now media people are able to say, well, Zionism is X, Y, and Z, when you've only known it to have pride in where you're from and persevere through things like the Holocaust.
Well, that's the thing. It's if we had Israel, what I grew up to know, and by the way, I'm sure people will throw out texts or articles or whatever, but from what I had learned growing up, it was if we had Israel
Right.
or some country
Somewhere to go.
the Holocaust, because there were, I mean, not to bore everyone, I'll be quick, but there were Jews that tried to go to America, and America wouldn't take them.
Right.
Like, why didn't they leave Germany? Well, Jews actually tried to leave. No country would take them. But if we had Israel, no, like who? But who, again, who would want refugees? Who wants like poor Jewish refugees? So no country would take us. So we stayed there. But it was always explained to me, if we had Israel, we would have been like, just go to Israel. They're going to take you. You'll be safe. And it had never been explained to me that it was in the context of, like, yeah, let's get those other people. Like, no, it was people want to kill us. It needs to stop. We need to not be killed. That was it. So I don't know,
Yeah, well, that we got here because we were on the topic of like, what's the difference between pride and like thinking you're better? I mean, it's everything just kind of starts to cannibalize itself.
Right. So you can cut that out, by the way, if it's.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's. I mean, you grew up Jewish.
Yes.
Did you ever go on birthright?
Yes.
Oh,
twice.
you did.
I did birthright twice.
You're allowed to do it twice.
Well, so I did birthright. Birthright is the umbrella organization.
Okay.
Or I went on Oranim, which was like the party, like. I actually wish I didn't do it that way. I was just hungover the whole time. We went on, it was Rutgers Hillel, and we went with Binghamton Hillel, and we made out with these, like, we all had like these Sammy boyfriends, and like.
Well, that's what they want, right?
Yeah, right. And we kept in touch with them, but like not really after. And then I was just drunk and like hooking up the whole time.
Yeah.
And the second time I went to Israel, I took this fellowship. It was through this birthright chapter called who cares? No one remember. But it was like if you took these Jewish classes and learned about Judaism, like you got to go to Israel for $99, and I did that, and I loved I don't know how you can see Israel without the spirituality.
Right.
I don't know how you can. It's such a, even for all religions.
No, I mean, as someone that grew up extremely Catholic, when my friend Judy would go to Israel, she has family there, she'd always bring me back, holy water and rosary beads and just these nice little, Catholic centric things, because that is so part of it.
Yeah, it's just wild. Like if you go to Old Jerusalem, it's just biblical history is there from every religion, and you're like, this is wild.
Yeah, old.
Yeah, there's an old Jerusalem and a new. Yeah, so
yeah. And there is something about going to where your bloodline is from, where you feel very connected. I went to Ireland when I was in my early 20s, and I just there's something about just feeling like you're in the fold of like, you're just all of a sudden
your grandmother was here. Yeah,
exactly. And like having a grandma that did come from Ireland and like make her, came through Ellis Island and like worked in New York and like created a family in New Jersey. It's like I had a huge sense of pride.
Yeah.
Yes.
What part of Ireland was she from?
So she was from, I always forget. I believe it was either County. I think my grandfather was from County Kerry, and my grandmother was from. I always forget. Not Cork, maybe Cork. No, not Cork. But I know my grandfather was from County Kerry, and it's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come to me. But yeah. And it's funny because my grandparents, obviously were born and raised in Ireland and came over to New York and met in New York. They didn't know each other in Ireland. They met in New York.
Cute.
How cute is that?
That is literally cute.
I know. So
we
cute.
moved to Jersey.
And then moved to Jersey and had a hell of a life.
I know you half Italian too.
No, I'm half Polish.
Oh, okay. Because half Italian, half Irish is like so.
I know. Very
living
Catholic.
in Sayreville. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a huge, in Sayreville, it's Irish, Polish, Italian.
Yeah.
That's the makeup for the most part. And some Portuguese.
Of course.
But yeah. I've never been to Poland, but it's so funny because so many of like the holiday traditions are like very rooted in Polish traditions, because because my mom's side is Irish and my dad's side is Polish, and like I don't know how this worked with your family, but like we just kind of always favored going more to like my dad's side of things,
Oh, like the family better.
Like
okay.
that family, but I mean, I guess it's because there wasn't many Irish family here, but whatever. Yeah, so like holidays would be
It's usually the mom's family. Like my
I
family was
know,
going to
yeah.
mom's. We always go my mom's side
yeah.
more.
Yeah, there was a lot of dysfunction on the Irish
Oh,
side.
yeah, okay.
The Irish persevered with that alcoholism, I'll tell you that. Yeah. What were holidays like? Like the Jewish people, do you have food-centric holidays?
Yeah, probably not like good food, but I mean we're not like known for our food, but
Right. It is
yeah.
delicious though.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so a lot of the holidays, it is centered around food, brisket. Well, Passover is like brisket. My mom makes this killer brisket, gefilte fish. It's very like salty food, very like, because and it's Eastern European based, and a lot of the food is Jewish food is actually Eastern European food. I'm sure you know this is like Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of the Jews in New York are Ashkenazi Jews.
Ashkenazi, right.
But like I went on that birthright trip, and I met Sephardic Jews, and they had no idea what like cold cut. I forgot what they didn't know. Something I was like, they didn't know what like cold cuts were, or like bagel, something like so Jewish that you'd be like, you don't know what that is,
right? Because
their food is not like bagels, lox, gefilte fish. It's like falafel and like it's like more Middle Eastern food.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to see how our foods are different, and
Yeah, I mean, even just the difference between talking to you, a Jewish girl, Ashkenazi Jewish girl growing up in Central Jersey, compared to Olga Namer, who I had on the podcast. She was one of my very, very, very first episodes. She might have been episode like 2 or something. She grew up Sephardic Jewish in Brooklyn. Very different experiences.
Syrian Jew.
Yes,
which
Syrian.
is a whole... I mean, I'll say things to her and I'll be like... Everyone said to her, I was like, something like, Jews all go to college. Oh my God, that sounds... But I was like being educated was very important. Like going to college, like, Jew go... And she's like, no one I knew went to college. Something like that. Like, these are more like entrepreneurs and like...
Yeah, totally.
No. Yeah, you can cut that out if that was too bad. But
you're fine. No, you're fine.
It's my social anxiety, yeah.
Anxiety.
But we're more like, they're more entrepreneurial. I think we're more like... the stereotype of like, the doctors, the lawyers,
Right. So going back to the sorority, did you ever, were you friends with people that dealt with eating disorders? Like what of ED did you see? But like, not just so much in like, not drink all day, not eat all day, and then we go out and drink in a city. But like girls, like it my whole point and what I'm trying to say is, it's very jarring being young and seeing somebody go with that, because like we said, we didn't have the language, and our brains weren't fully formed. So it's a really weird thing to see a friend that's your peer, that's your age, go through like something medical like that. Did you see that at all in your sorority?
Like medical, like they medically had to get hospitalized?
Or like, they're just like, this girl clearly is anorexic. This person,
We pledged with a girl that was like clearly, I mean, like wouldn't eat. She said she wouldn't eat for days and then eat, or, so.
Yeah. Performative eating. Yeah.
But we didn't know. I don't even know how long she stayed in the sorority after. We were at a big pledge class. She was, what do they call it? What do they call it? Snap it.
Oh yeah,
something they called
something like that.
Like they have a certain amount. Like I don't know. Like you're like the waitlisted or something.
Right.
Gosh, that's so mean. But like, and then we had one girl in our sorority that like was just taking Adderall, just not eating. I feel like I was the one in the sorority that people thought had an eating disorder.
Oh really?
Because the girls in my sorority would eat.
Yeah.
And I was dieting all the time. When we go out, I ordered salads.
You weren't going to the fat trucks.
No. And like I was one of the only girls that didn't like eat pizza when we get home, and like they'd always be like, well, why aren't you like? I never had a fast metabolism.
And it sounds like, I mean, from what you described before, your mom had laid the foundation of healthy food.
Yeah. But we did a lot of it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We would have like low calorie, like like I'd order things, no cheese, no dressing.
Yeah.
Like, and the girls in my sorority, I remember them. I remember I went to Florida with some girls, and they were like, "You don't eat," and I was like, "I eat. I don't know." But see, then I think that's the opposite. Like,
right.
what I find it so rude to comment on
It's
how much or
so
little
rude.
someone eats. And
It is so rude.
and I didn't have the language back then to be
Yeah.
like, this is, you're making me feel, I wish I said, you're making me feel uncomfortable. Please don't
Right.
comment on how little or how I'm not eating. Cause it's like, I remember they were like, we're just really concerned because you're not eating. And I was like, I'm eating. Like
fuck you.
Literally, I think they felt badly that they.
Right. Didn't make those choices. But there could be like many reasons why you're not getting cheese on your sandwich or whatever. It could be that like dairy messes with your stomach. Like there could be a million reasons. But again, it was one of those things where, you know, they were saying something to you when it's like, please don't talk about me like this.
Yeah. Like, so I think because I never had a fast metabolism. So I always picked like lower calorie choices, and because growing up and and maybe those girls like did, so they didn't like weren't right, they never dieted or something, because like I'd order and they would just like all stare at me. Like, I would get the egg white omelet with but you know, I'll say this, when you eat diet food like that, and you're still hungry, like don't eat, like it's better to just like anyway. But
no, totally. That's something that reminded me in our conversation was the concept of pledging. So for people that don't know, pledging a sorority means that before you get into the organization, there's like a 6-week process, you can call it. It varies in time, where you're like learning about the sorority and whatever. And there's varying levels to pledging. I know pledging in general has like a very negative connotation for the word, which I'm not going to get into hazing and all that. Now in 2024, if you're joining a sorority, they don't call it pledging. It's called new member process or something like that. But I know many girls that joined my sorority, which our philanthropy was ANAD, anorexia nervosa and associated disorders. So like that kind of already.
Wait, so your organization?
My organization, philanthropy.
That was DeFi's organization.
Yes. Like our philanthropy.
Yes, Ours was child abuse across America.
Yeah, ours was ANAD and cystic fibrosis.
Okay,
both. Okay. I guess actually more cystic fibrosis now that I think about it. But we would do like events for both to raise money. So I think because ANAD was our philanthropy, it like brought in girls that like had a history of that in some capacity.
Oh,
like
interesting.
Knowingly.
Okay.
Maybe now that like as I'm having this conversation, I think maybe that could have been why I knew so many girls that dealt with it. But I knew some of the older girls who, would impart these stories to us about how this was like my last ditch effort. It was like, go to college and prosper and like get in a sorority or go to the hospital for your eating disorder.
My God.
And there was something about pledging where they're in this process where it didn't cure them of their eating disorder, but it really got their head out of the disordered eating and the fixating, because now all of a sudden the OCD aspect of it, all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I have to go to this meeting, and then after I have to hang with the girls because we're going to do arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Like it just takes them out of it, because now all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, I have to go through this process to get into this organization that I want to get in. And if I, drop out from this process, I'm not allowed, like I'm not inducted into the organization.
Got it. Yeah.
So I think that really speaks to the mental aspect of eating disorders.
Oh yeah, there's so much. I mean, there's so much that goes into eating. It's not I'm like lost for words, but me realizing it was someone going, I don't think you're hungry. I think you can't.
Significant.
I think you're trying to calm yourself down. I was like, how did you figure that? I was like, boom, and then you just see what's eating you. It's just how much or how little you're eating. Yeah. Anything of the spectrum is,
And for some people, the concept of using food to calm themselves down is so foreign, because that's the other side of the spectrum of, I'm so nervous, I need to calm down, I'm not going to eat.
Right.
I'm very much of like I'm nervous, like
stress eating.
There's something about the grounding nature of eating. That's really what it is. Once I learned the term grounding and realizing that's what I was trying to do, I was trying to come back into my body because I'm up here.
Yes.
It really, really helped.
You want to feel something.
Yes.
And you also just want to like get out of your someone else. I heard someone else talk about this with eating, like binge eating and stuff. It's like you want to just like escape. I mean, I guess that's like all addiction, right? Alcohol. You're trying to like change your state of mind.
Yeah.
And if I can't fix how hurt I am on the inside, I'll just focus on how hurt my belly.
Yes.
From like so I don't have to worry about what's going on because my stomach is hurting because
You're numbed.
I ate so much. Numbing. Yeah. So it's food and emotions are just. Does anyone not have emotional eating? Like,
I don't know.
Is there anyone that has like a normal relationship to food? Do they not live in New York or something?
I don't know. That's such because I question that. I wonder like people that just like are able to I don't know, not eat when they're not hungry or able to realize that what they're feeling is not hunger. I don't know.
Or just eat. I wonder if American culture, because food is so ubiquitous.
Yes.
And like snacking, I'll say this. My ex-boyfriend lived in Spain. I lived in Spain with him for a little bit.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It was very cool. And the relationship to food there is unbelievable. There's no snacks. He would just cook, and we'd wake up, and they'd have like a cookie or something, very light breakfast.
Yeah.
Smoke a cigarette, coffee.
So posh.
He'd go to work. He'd come home. He'd eat. If he wasn't hungry, he wouldn't eat. It was like a very like. And I hung out with him and his friends, so I understood. Like I saw their eating patterns, and like, nobody snacked. Like nobody was eating like granola bars and let's get a pizza. Like it was interesting, the relationship to food.
I actually hate the concept of 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
And what I hate more than that is the concept of this is a breakfast food, this is a lunch food,
Oh, yeah.
this is a dinner food. I hate that because first off, if you're going to be eating carbs, it's probably better to do that in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you need the energy to get through the day. So why am I having more protein in the morning and then having like a carby dinner?
And you're going to sleep. That's right.
That's so backwards.
Right.
So there is something to the American diet and the American relationship.
We just like consume to consume. We don't consume to enjoy.
Yeah.
It just seems like my ex-boyfriend had a relationship with food of like pleasure and enjoyment and calm. So like I remember when I was there, I wanted to take a coffee. Well, this is Barcelona. When I studied abroad in Salamanca, a more remote part of Spain, I wanted a coffee to go, and they were like, I said para llevar, and they were like, to go.
Yeah.
They didn't have a to-go cup.
That's crazy.
Because you
sit and you enjoy.
You smoke a cigarette. You talk. You enjoy. But Americans are so in a rush.
We're in that rat race here.
Yeah, and I think if you saw the movie Eat, Pray, Love, she kind of talks about that. Is like you're just like food is like an escape to like break the rat race to like you don't know pleasure. Like that's what he says to her in Eat, Pray, Love. You don't know pleasure.
Yeah.
Like he was talking about how like McDonald's like, have you had your break today? He's like, yeah. Like Americans need that.
Yeah.
To like take a break. They're like, oh, I can take a break because I'm eating.
Yeah. Like please don't bother me. I'm eating.
Right.
We actually were talking about this before we, started rolling where, I was telling you how I have to fly down to Tampa for a wedding, bachelorette, whatever. And I have a time in between where I'm like, am I just going to not do anything for those 3 days?
Yeah.
And it's like, when have I had 3 days
I know.
in a beautiful place to not do anything?
Right.
But just the concept of not being able to the concept of getting off the hamster wheel is like, my body wants to fight against it.
You're like, I need to be productive.
Yeah, I need to be productive. I'm gonna
if it's a do, well, maybe eating is a to do, and I accomplished it. I went to, I said I go to a restaurant. I went to a restaurant. I ate.
Yep.
Versus like maybe a European. I think they might have a good relationship with food.
I think the Parisians get it right.
Yes,
I really think they do because they're like. I don't know. It's the sitting down.
It's sitting that is and enjoying. I don't think we allow ourselves, especially New Yorkers, we don't allow ourselves to enjoy. It's like you just eat.
We eat over our computer.
And we're in a rush to get out of the restaurant. I hate that.
Oh my God, I
hate
that.
And like, are you guys? It's like, are we still working? And it's like, oh, can we just sit and relax in this restaurant and talk and like.
But you know what's so funny? When I do go somewhere that's not New York, New Jersey, there'll be times when, okay, we're done, we're sitting there, and I get antsy. I'm like, where the fuck is this girl? I'm like, we're done. I'm getting antsy sitting here.
Yeah,
You know,
we gotta go. Right.
We gotta go. Like it's crazy how antsy I get. But if I'm in New York and I get rushed, I get so pissed. It's like, can I sit and have this glass of wine? You know,
like, why do we have to like? Oh, the bill's here. Oh, it's like, oh my God,
we gotta turn the table over. It's like,
but I think that's also why when I go to restaurants, I eat fast and eat a lot because I'm like, check.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh no, we have time. Just pick at your food. Don't pick at your food. We could be here. Like I think that mentality would like make me not eat as like
totally just to nosh.
Like that's what happens when you go. I mean, I'm not trying to be like European, but
that's very funny.
but it's like you sit and you have the meal and you want to eat now. You don't no rush. My boyfriend say tranquila chica. That means calm down. Like tranquila chica, trinca, no pasa nada, no pasa. Like I always be like you know.
Yeah. Going. Yeah,
and he's like, no, enjoy. We're here. Like you know. So they're a little better at enjoying and enjoying the moment. So
absolutely.
And enjoying food, and it's just a different relationship. He didn't, again, I mean, from his apartment, he didn't have snacks. He just had like ingredients to cook. And like, if he wasn't hungry, he just like didn't eat that. He didn't eat that day. Like I remember he was like, I didn't really eat yesterday. I'm like,
what do you mean?
You have to eat every day. But now there's this whole conversation with like intuitive eating, which isn't it crazy? We have to have someone tell us, well, if you're not hungry.
I have literally a book about it. You see the Roomba? Right there, intuitive eating. I have the book and the workbook.
Isn't it crazy as Americans that we have to be told, oh, if you're not hungry and you don't want breakfast, don't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
You're not anorexic. You just don't eat breakfast.
Or like just this concept of listening to what you actually want.
Yes.
You know, like just the thought of like, because so much of our eating in America is mindless. So much of it is mindless.
You're numbing.
You're just like not even thinking about it. Like, you'll get like a bag of chips or something. Like you said, your dad was like a full bag of chip eater. It's like probably doesn't even realize that he's eating it.
No.
Because you're not stopping to take a breath or whatever. And it's like, because your cortisol is through the roof, your adrenaline is spiked, you're getting through the day, and then all of a sudden you come home and it's time to decompress. And in that decompressing, in slowing down this engine, like what we talked about with you and ADHD, it's like, okay, this is like part of it. This is part of it.
This is the calming down. This is the numbing. This is can I just have like 1 second to just like, just numb out? And but so much pressure.
And just this idea that restricting will lead to binging and how that needed to be laid out for me. Like I needed to be told that when I go a long period of time restricting myself, whether it's like, let's say I'm going to cut out carbs. Yeah. Then all of a sudden I hit a break and it's carb city.
I know.
And it's like, that works for some people. This is like, you can't have like a blanket thing where like, this is going to happen to everybody. Some people have the ability to restrict and eliminate, and they don't do that. They don't binge. I'm not one of those people. So like, I have to learn that like, bread doesn't have to be a given. Carbs don't have to be a given. Do I want carbs right now? And it feels almost elementary to ask yourself that.
I know. Well, that's the American Northeast, and I'm sure it's common in other parts of the country of like, you don't ask yourself how you're feeling. You don't go like did you ever, what also book changed my life? You probably heard Janine Roth, Women, Food, and God.
No, I never heard that one.
You've never heard the book Women, Food, and God?
I'm going to download it.
Oh my God, is it a game-changing book?
Okay.
This woman, all these like intuitive eating have got to be her starting.
Her thing, yeah.
She talks about how women are so disconnected from their bodies. And dieting and women, and when you go through her program, her whole thing is the only rules are there's only 3 rules. You have to sit down. If you're going to binge, you have to sit down. You have to sit and take a bite. So I think, or she has like 2 rules. I forgot. Those are the only 2 rules. And she goes, people go through my program and they want to know, well, tell me, should I eat meat? And she goes, that's when you ask that, you're disconnecting from your body. Essentially, her whole thing is that because we've been so disconnected from our body, and women are always second guessing themselves and being told and given rules, they don't know what they want. They don't know. And I when I was reading her book, I'm like, I don't know when I'm hungry. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever been hungry.
Right.
Like, I think I just like eat. I don't know. Yeah. And you go, that's like we've misplaced our purpose of food. And she also talks about how she was a lifelong yo-yo dieter. And then she just said, like, I just said to myself, I eat exactly what I want. If I go to a restaurant and eat something and I don't like it, I don't. You throw it out.
That's major.
Major. And she's like, people always like push back. And she's like, I remember when I went through, I was just like, I'll go to a restaurant, I'll eat like all the desserts. Everyone's like, oh my God. She's just like, the point is to get connected to your body and ask yourself, how do you feel? Stop reading diet books.
Yeah.
Because the diets have disconnected you from your body.
That is, I mean, I'm kind of still stuck on just this concept of sitting down before you eat. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't until recently realize what a disconnected behavior I had of like standing in front of the fridge and like, even if it's fruit, just like standing there and like eating like a fruit, like a grape, a watermelon, a cantaloupe, whatever, like just standing there and eating it. And it's like, I just ate all this great fruit, but like so much of me doesn't even register that I did that. And like,
it's not, autopilot,
100%. And like, also, another thing that I think can go into that is like having what you eat like be on a plate.
Yes.
She
talks about that too. If you're going to binge, put it on a plate and sit down. You can binge. There's no calorie restriction. There's no chocolate. You're going to want to eat chocolate. Sit down. Make she's like, I would make like beautiful tablecloths for myself if I was going to eat cake. And then like,
I love that.
So that's her whole thing.
And it also helps make food not the enemy.
And I think that's what Europeans have not lost. I think the American lifestyle has lost that you can enjoy things.
Yeah.
And she talks about in the book how it's not, she was the one thing, her whole thing is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you like use food to escape or to punish or to like, you're probably denying yourself like other pleasures. So she'd say like, I would just go shopping and not buy anything. And she's like, I didn't realize like just looking at clothes gave me pleasure. So you know what I'm saying? Like just
absolutely,
does this give me pleasure? Forget like, if I'm going to buy something, do I just like looking at clothes? And
it really is such a foreign concept when we were in middle school and there was soup to go.
Yeah.
Literally, Campbell's had soup to go where you would put the vessel in the microwave, pop the lid on it, and then you can walk out the door and have soup.
Yeah, that's our generation.
That is insane.
Yes, I know.
Soup to go.
And always snacks. I mean, my mom always had snacks on her.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's also like I eat in my car a lot because if I'm like I'm in a rush to go somewhere, I'm like, oh, let me just get something to eat, and then and then I eat in my car, and like I've stopped doing that because Well,
I think the other idea of that is like I'm gonna grab something to eat real quick is your body probably develops a little bit of a fear of at the end of the day it's starting to feel starved.
Yep.
Because we go and we go and we go and we don't stop. And then our body kicks in to protect us.
Right.
Because despite our conscious body, being go, 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 our unconscious and our brain is like, we got to keep this thing going.
Yeah, we got to keep this going and you need a break. And I go, oh, but a cupcake it'll be a break. And actually Janine Roth, you got to read this book. Oh my God.
I'm so excited.
It's the OG like intuitive eating book.
Okay.
And she talks about how like, she says, I didn't want a cupcake. I wanted to be a cupcake.
Oh my God.
I wanted to be fun. She's like, when I crave a cupcake with sprinkles, I'm like, because I want to be I want to be fun. That's what I'm. So, but also she'd say, well, I'm going to get myself a cupcake.
Yeah.
And then she's like, if I want a cupcake tomorrow, I'm going to have a cupcake tomorrow. But I'm going to sit, I'm going to be calm, and I'm not going to shame myself. I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And, and then one day you don't want cupcake. That's also talks in the book.
Yeah.
You think forever. You think if you're going to buy a cupcake, oh my God, that means you're never going to stop eating the cupcakes. And then you realize, no, one day you go, I don't really want cupcakes.
Right.
I kind of want a vegetable.
Yeah.
Once you get connected to how you're,
And it makes sense to you and I because we, I have a whole podcast centered around this. So these concepts make sense. But 10 years ago, this wouldn't make sense to me.
No.
Not at all. It wouldn't connect with me at all. I'd say, a cupcake? You crazy?
Right. You're like, well, how can I have it? Like, how many points? Like, like, give me rules. And she says that. And when women go through her program, they're always like, give me dieting. And she's like, no, I'm not giving you any diet. She's like, every diet will end in a binge. That's what she also talks about in the book. Every diet, because you're restricting, and it's not about the hunger, and it's not about,
And that's what I think when it comes to, I think that there's this massive misconception with body positivity and body neutrality that it's just like this idea of like, well, it's fine if you're fat and unhealthy. That's fine.
No.
Like, that's fine. And it's like, no, that's not what the movement is trying to do. It's trying to have people just exist and not want to kill themselves,
Right.
you know, and B, just speak the truth, which is diet culture doesn't work. Like your dad did diets all his life, and it's like, did any of them stick?
I mean,
no.
yeah, well, he's older now, so he doesn't gain as much weight. But yeah, exactly right.
Because you know,
but
eventually
diets
you get to
were like. I mean, you remember there was like 1-800-94 Jenny.
Uh-huh.
There was Slim Fast.
Slim Fast.
People talk about diet. People talked like, remember Joan Rivers would talk about people being fat on TV, and everyone thought now you could never.
You
say
could
that.
never, yeah.
Talking about I know they tried to cancel Oprah recently because she said something the Olsen twins and. They said she's like, what size are you? And the Olsen twins are like 0 or something, and she's like, oh my god, I'd love to be that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, she's fat, she's shaming them, and it's like. Back then,
but you just don't understand.
We talked like that back then.
Yeah,
like, are you skinny bitch? Oh,
yeah, totally. She, it's so funny. So she is on Ozempic now. Oprah.
Okay.
And so she used to be a spokesperson for Weight Watchers and do just like, you know, the kind of like conflict of interest. She isn't anymore. And I did an episode on this. It's called Oprah's Apology Tour, and it's she had this ABC like hour special, which ended up being one hour long commercial for Ozempic, but I did a whole episode of it. You can check it out. I think it's very good. I break everything down. It's a solo ep, and she started out the episode with you know, throughout my career and having a talk show, making fun of my weight was national sport.
Yeah.
There would be headlines, you know, Oprah at it again. Her and Stedman on the rocks. He can't stand her weight gain. Oprah off the rails, you know, binging. And she's like, horrible things were said about me until it got to a breaking point. And I think it was 1996, late 90s. She lost a bunch of weight in a very short amount of time and wheeled out 65 pounds of fat on a wheel thing and a little red cart. And, you know, everybody celebrated and lauded her for it. And in recent 2024, I guess at that time, when it came out 2023, she was like getting canceled on TikTok for that toxic behavior. And it's like, do you know what this woman went through? Like, honestly, I know people talk shit about Ozempic. About Oprah being on Ozempic. And like, I probably have had some like not nice jokes said about that as well. But like, honestly, having been somebody that watched Oprah every day at 4 p.m.
Me too.
After school, it would be TRL and then Oprah. Let her go. Let her be on Ozempic. That poor woman. I mean, she's a billionaire, so like whatever. But
they were very mean to her about her weight, and
so
she's very
mean,
sensitive. You know,
very sensitive.
Yeah.
Do you know her sign?
Aquarius.
Oh, you knew it.
Yeah, the Sag moon or something.
I have no idea.
She's like a Sag rising, or you know, every
I love Oprah.
Yeah, every major pop star or celebrity has a Sag.
Oh, that's
Sag
so
is
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we talked about back then. Talking about dieting was so normalized. And like, even if you tell in stand up, when you tell jokes about diet, fat, people, you can't tell those jokes anymore. People,
you have to they have to be really good. People don't like it. Gen Z does not like it. I do Wisconsin. They love it.
Yeah.
With Midwest.
Yeah,
because they get it. They relate to it.
Right. Yeah.
Not
especially
young
like
people.
People in the 90s, Europe in the 90s,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, like I feel fat, or I want to be skinny. Like you can't say those words. And back in the 90s, like there was always diet commercials. People talked about being on diets. People would say, I want to be skinny. I like, you know, like people would just say that. Now you absolutely can't say the word skinny or fat. Even Weight Watchers, didn't they change their name to like
WW.
Yeah, take the weight out of it.
Yeah.
And wasn't Weight Watchers one of the healthier ones? Like
actually, Weight Watchers is probably one of.
problematic?
No. I think Weight Watchers is probably one of the better diets of the diets that are out there because there is no restricting. Yeah. It's just portion control with points. Having said that, in all the times that I've done Weight Watchers, did I have really good results when I did it? Yes. Was it sustainable? No, because I was starving. I was fucking starving. The points were not enough, you know, and
just all these rules. rules.
So many
At
rules.
a certain point, you go, this is what I feel with dieting. I end up binging because I'm like, I don't want any more rules.
Yeah.
My whole life is rules. I have to be here at this time. I want freedom. So sometimes eating for me is like my freedom.
Right.
I want no rules. I want to live, so.
No, absolutely. There's so many ways in which you can escape through food. And I think you just hit a really good point on the rule thing.
Yeah.
You can escape rules by throwing all that out the window and just eating whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. You're like, fuck, like this many carbs. And I'm like.
And then you have to move past the guilt, because when you feel guilty about it, it's like, okay, next day.
Punishment.
Yeah. Punishment.
And Janine Roth talks about a lot of diets now say don't punish yourself. Like, and it's just so funny how maybe Europeans do now, but Europeans don't. Like, it's funny how Americans have to be trained to learn like how to eat like a normal person. Yeah. Eat what you want, enjoy it. It's just so funny how even maybe in our parents' generation or grandparents' generation, it was such a foreign. It's like, maybe I think food has become so ubiquitous in the United States. Our grocery stores are just so massive. Processed foods here.
The amount of chemicals in our food.
Yes. It just, food is everywhere. And it's so easy to get.
Yes. What is at our disposal is actively killing us.
Yeah.
And then it's our fault why we're like that. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll take that on.
Right. Right. Yeah. The chemicals that you put so I'd get addicted. And
yeah, totally.
And you make it so, So
it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And I'm on board with the intuitive eating. And I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man, I loved this.
Are you looking good? Is it over? No.
Let's see. Where we at?
We had fun talking.
We're a little over, but that's okay. That's okay. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on?
I guess to wrap it up, I definitely read your listeners. Women Food and God.
I'm so excited to
her
read
name's
this.
Janine. I can't believe I've never heard of her. If you do this podcast, it's like her name's
never come
Janine
up.
Roth. She wrote Women Food and God, and I think she revolutionized the thought of like, you need to get back. We've lost touch with our bodies.
Yeah,
we've literally and women specifically have, because we're just taught to follow rules and make everyone happy. I think men are better. I've noticed about men. Men don't snack as much.
Yeah,
and men will be the people that are like, oh yeah, I just didn't eat lunch.
Totally.
Women are like, oh god, and I think it's because men are more socialized to be in touch with themselves because they're not socialized to please.
Right.
When you're socialized to please, you're looking at, is everybody okay? So you're like, oh, how do I feel? What does it matter? How would be? So then you lose track of yourself and you go, okay, tell me how many calories to eat. I don't know. And it's like,
men just show up, and for us, we're thinking of so many other things.
Right. And I think, and also what's sad is that the real estate in our brain that diets have caused me, and I'm sure many other women, is like, we could probably solve.
Oh my gosh, I'm in a diet encyclopedia.
We're like Rain Man for
yeah.
There was like
oh my god, yeah.
Do you ever see that show? There was some show about a girl at anorexia, and someone's like, "You're like the Rain Man for calories. Like you just know." You know.
That sounds familiar. I don't know if I.
It was a Netflix or something. It was this girl that had anorexia.
I'm trying to work on this joke where I'm like, I could do Price is Right, but for calories.
Literally.
Like I would totally do the Showcase Showdown would be like a mukbang. Literally. I could tell you exactly. I used to be able to look at a piece of food and tell you the calories in it. That was like a party trick I did back in the sorority days.
But even going back to what we were talking about before about burnout and how when we were starting in stand up, at least me, it was like grind, and you go, okay, I am tired and I am hungry, but that doesn't matter. You keep going. So then you reach a point where you're like, am I hungry? Am I tired? I don't know. I don't think I ever felt hungry, And then once you go, no, am I tired? Yes, I'm going to sleep. Am I hungry? Yes, I'm going to eat. And getting back in touch with your body and yourself is I think the best.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
just being. It helps explain the idea of being so exhausted, you've been going all day, so exhausted. Okay, time to lay in bed. I don't shut off a light. I am up there and I'm staring at the ceiling and I'm trying to not scroll on my phone because I know that's going to keep me up an extra hour. But I'm still buzzing. I can't. I can't stop. And there's so much about what is wrong with you. Come on up, Bubba. Come on, jeez, you needed an invite. There is something to. Have you ever read The Body Keeps the Score?
No.
So that's a good one. You'd like it. So this concept of like our emotions and our experiences and our trauma are stored in our body.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there's this concept, and people that have like, chronic pain don't necessarily accept this concept too well, because it kind of sounds like you're saying, oh, you're saying my pain's my fault. But the idea of it is that like your back pain isn't necessarily the back pain, like a physical pain. It's physical pain manifesting from an emotion that you're having, a worry, So like I always know back in my dating days, when I was with a guy that wasn't good for me, my lower back would get on the pain in my lower back. And I never understood why until all of a sudden I noticed when the guy and he would ghost me or we would break up, whatever, the back pain went away. And I noticed that pattern of like, if I'm with somebody that is not good for me, my lower back gets crazy pain.
Yeah.
Crazy pain. And to be honest, with my relationship with Joe, there have been times, we've been together 3 years now. Things can come up. And when we're in an argument, my lower back is like, I could look at that and say, oh, I got to go to a back doctor for this pain, or I can address the problem at hand. And every time I have, and
giving yourself space relief to say, how do I feel? Like you could ignore the pain and go, oh, well, Joe and I have to do this. Well, Joe, like ignore, like women tend to do that.
Yeah.
Like, instead of going, I have pain and I'm going to take care of it because I'm going to take care of how my feeling. Or just saying, do I even like doing what I'm doing? Like getting in touch with how you feel about everything and being honest versus like, well, I don't like it, but it's okay. Like that's women more than men tend to do that. And then so when it comes to food, we go, I can be in control and I can, I'm going to let loose. And they call food the good girl drug.
Oh my gosh. The good girl drug.
A lot of high achieving women use food as have food addiction.
Totally.
And that's what happened with me when I was like really serious about getting like straight A's. It was an escape, it was my drug, and it's a good girl drug.
The good girl drug. Wow, that should be the name. There has to be a book with that title.
Yeah,
the
maybe.
Good Girl Drug.
But I've heard that. I mean, I didn't think of that.
Tell you what, it's the name of this episode.
Okay, the Good Girl Drug. Yeah, it's like
Wow. Oh my God, I loved our conversation.
Oh, good. Read Women, Food, and God. I'll come back on.
I am so excited to read it.
Yes.
I am so excited to read it.
She has another one, like if you're gonna binge, pull up a seat or something like that.
Okay.
But it's like it's so mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because again, I've gone on. It's about getting back to your own pleasure and feeling, and you've been using food to connect to pleasure, and you've been using food to connect to God.
Yeah.
And there's other ways to connect to God. There's a beautiful sunset. There's going and looking at beautiful dresses. There's relaxing. Sometimes it's masturbating and doing nothing.
Right.
But if that's what you want to do at the moment, so
yeah.
But we all just have to go on and numb and eat in our cars and eat this sandwich that tastes like shit. But then that's the other thing. And I'm sorry to keep this.
No, it's fine.
Sometimes though, like it's easy for me to say I don't have a family. I just have me, my full-time job, and stand up. I can see how if you are a mom, a working mom with kids, you just go, pleasure, like I need to go, I need to do this, I have a schedule, I'll just stuff and then you have one moment to yourself and you just go, I'll just eat the whole sheet cake. I just
no, totally.
I need to escape.
'Cause that is something that like needs to be in this conversation, needs to be brought up, because we have the luxury of being able to sit and do that. We don't have a kid that needs to get to soccer practice.
Right. Or crying or running.
And I empathize with the women.
Working women.
Working women.
And non-working, I empathize with you too. But,
of course. But it's just like another layer,
To having a demanding job.
Especially because, you know what? Yes, working women, 100%. Being a stay-at-home mom now, you got to be perfect on Instagram.
I know.
It is like... It is a whole aesthetic that if you give a shit about that, which it's hard not to, you got to keep up with.
Right. And being a stay-at-home mom is not, you want to escape to, you're like dealing with like screaming kids, shit diapers, like,
No,
so
it's hell.
You probably also need to escape and do something for you because you're just being everything to everybody. You know, you're cooking for people, cleaning for people.
Yeah.
What are you doing for you? Do you want to go down to the beach and just walk around? Do you want to like? I know I sound like such a like.
No, it really is a very layered conversation, because then that also goes into the concept of equanimity between a married couple,
Right.
And that like making sure that the husband is taking on more traditionally feminine roles in the house, so that the female in the house has the ability to have the same luxury that the men do,
Right.
of being in their body.
And enjoy. Right. Yeah. Both should share the responsibility.
Absolutely.
If that's possible. I don't know. What am I told? I'm not a mom or
I know.
So I can't say what's good to or do.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's I know it's difficult. So.
No, I literally just have to care for me, myself, and I.
Yeah. So
And I don't mind that. I like that very much. Oh my gosh, Amanda, where can people find you?
Oh, the Amanda Gail. Yeah, send hate comments. It's fine. But sorry if I said anything rude to anyone. But
listen, you're just trying to live your truth.
I really live my truth, and I want everyone to. I like everyone.
Yeah, totally.
Peace and love.
I love you very much. You're fantastic. We got to go back to Mexico City.
We do.
That was so fun.
That really was so fun.
Ugh, talk about a much needed trip. Okay, guys, all of links to Amanda's pages will be in the description of the show as normal. Until next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.